My name is Mary Anderson. I'm a student at EDM310. Today I'm going to be reading to you an adaptation by Natalie Stratifer of Washington Irving's The Headless Horseman. Once there was a town called Sleepy Hollow. It was a drowsy little town in a pretty green valley. Life there was peaceful and quiet. But at night, the town was too quiet. Then you might see something move in the shadows. Then you might hear something moan in the dark. Then you might believe that Sleepy Hollow was haunted. The people who lived there thought the whole valley was haunted. They told strange tales about ghosts and goblins and witches. The strangest tale of all, the story of the Headless Horseman. During the war, began the story, a bloody battle was fought in the valley. Swords clashed, cannon boomed. One soldier lost his head. His headless body was buried in the church graveyard. The tombstone reads, "Rest in peace," but the poor soul buried there can't rest. Now, on nights when the moon is full, he rises from the grave. He mounts his phantom horse and rides through the valley, looking for heads. So, beware of the headless horseman. If he cannot find his head, he will gladly take yours. No one believed in ghost stories more than a school teacher, Ichabod Crane. He was an odd-looking fellow, tall, skinny, dangly arms and floppy feet. When he walked down the street, he looked just like a scarecrow off his post. Ichabod was poor, but he had a plan. He was going to marry Katrina Van Tussle. Her father was the richest squire in the valley. Ichabod wanted to be just like them. Brom Bones wanted to marry Katrina as well. Brom was a friendly young man. He liked to play tricks and to ride horses and to have fun, and all the young ladies liked him, especially Katrina. Ichabod did his best to win Katrina's heart. He read his favorite books to her. He sang his favorite songs to her. He told her all about himself. Naturally, Brom Bones was jealous, so he played a trick on Ichabod. Late one night, Brom snuck into the schoolhouse. He turned the whole place topsy-turvy. When Ichabod arrived in the morning, he was horrified. Witches must have held a meeting there. He was afraid to teach that day. Then one afternoon, an invitation came from the Van Tussles. "We're having a party." Ichabod jumped for joy. He was invited. He sent his pupils home early and started to get ready. He put on his one and only suit. He combed his hair. He borrowed a broken-down horse and set out for Katrina's house. The sun was still shining as he rode along. It was harvest time in the valley, so everything was golden. Ichabod whistled a happy time. But when he rode into the woods, the light faded. Ichabod had stopped whistling, and when he went over the bridge and past the church, he saw a graveyard, and it gave him shivers. Ichabod's horse was very slow. It was already dark when Ichabod arrived at the party. Katrina's house was lit up like the moonlight. Someday, thought Ichabod, all this will be mine, and then some poor sap will be the school teacher, and I won't even invite him to my parties. Ichabod went inside. Katrina was dancing with Brom Bones. He tapped Brom on the shoulder. He said. "May I cut in?" Brom stepped aside and let Ichabod dance with Katrina. By and by, Brom tapped Ichabod, but Ichabod would not step aside. Instead, he twirled Katrina away. This made Brom angry. Later that evening, Brom went inside. The old man was telling ghost stories, and here was Ichabod, believing every word. "I saw the Headless Horseman just last night," says Brom. "He raced me for a cup of punch, and he would have took one too. But as soon as I crossed the bridge, the Headless Horseman vanished like a flash of fire." Ichabod's eyes grew wide. Brom smiled. Perhaps the Headless Horseman would ride that very night. The party was over. Ichabod was the last to leave, so he was miserable, naturally. He had asked Katrina to marry him, but she had turned him down. It was midnight as he rode towards home. The woods had never seemed so dark, and then an owl hooted. A frog croaked. A dog howled in the distance. Clouds hid the moon. The woods were darker than ever. To cheer himself up, Ichabod began to whistle. Then suddenly, someone whistled back. In the shadows stood a huge, dark shape. Ichabod's horse stopped dead. Just then the moon came out from behind the clouds. The huge, dark shape began to look like a horse. On top of the horse sat a man. On top of the man's shoulders sat nothing. But there was a head under his arms. Ichabod screamed, "Ah, the headless horseman!" Ichabod remembered Brahm's story. If only he could cross the church bridge, then he would be safe. He kicked his horse. "Go, go, go," urged Ichabod in a whisper, but the horse would not budge. He kicked his horse again. Finally, the whole old horse dashed forward. The headless horseman dashed forward too. Away they went in a race to the bridge, Ichabod riding for his life. Ichabod leaned forward. Faster, faster! The horse clashed over the bridge, Ichabod clinging to his back. Was he safe? Ichabod glanced back. The headless horseman had stopped. Suddenly, his horse, rearing up and with a chilling laugh, the headless horseman hurled his head across the bridge, right at Ichabod Crane. The next morning, Ichabod's horse was found, nibbling grass at the edge of town. But where was Ichabod Crane? The people of Sleepy Hollow set out to look for him. They found his hat near the church bridge. They found his smashed pumpkin next to his hat. But Ichabod Crane himself, they have never found. Often people could think of only one reason for Ichabod's disappearance. The headless horseman had carried him away. A farmer said he had seen a man who looked like Ichabod in another valley far away, but no one believed him. Everybody knew that Ichabod's ghost now haunted the old church bridge. When Brom Bones heard these stories, he would get a sneaky look on his face. If he knew what really happened, he wasn't telling. Hope you enjoyed the book. Headless Horseman.